Grand Rising and good day, family. It's Shay Seeking from American Aborigines Unchained here on YouTube and Facebook. Um, Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so again, we're here to research her story, meaning Erica, because we know that his story lied. Okay, so we're going to go right into this little article here. Again, I don't have much time, so we're going to try to make it really quick. And I will chop this up into smaller videos, but I have about 6 small videos that I want to share with you guys. It's probably going to end up being that much because I have a lot of pages here. So again, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it because you know what happens, okay? So again, it's about 1:40 in the morning and I'm going to try my hardest, but I have been struggling with my sleep disorder. So, yeah, if it gets too bad and I'm slurring and stuff like that too much, then I won't even, finish. Okay. So anyways, let's go. So slavery in the colonial history of the United States from 1526 to 1776 developed from complex factors. And researchers have proposed several theories to explain the development of the institution of slavery, okay, and of the slave trade. Slavery strongly correlated with Europe's American colonies' need for labor. See, so correlations, unless I'm using it wrong, is kind of like what I call what we do here when I'm trying or attempting to show you information that is biblical that seems like it may also be historical, using different terminologies because again, the stories sound too much alike, right? So there's too many things that are alike to not at least take a second look at it and go deeper. Okay. So again, I don't know. Okay. But I guess, okay, strongly correlated with Europe's American colonies' need for labor, especially the labor intensive plantation economies of the sugar colonies in the Caribbean, okay, operated by Great Britain, France, Spain, and the Dutch Republic. Okay, so again, you know, the fact that they're talking about just the slave trade, they're not calling it the transatlantic just yet, right? Okay. And the fact that again they needed labor. Well, I don't know why they would need labor because that must mean that the people that they met here was not about to bow down to anyone and what even going to deal with you on that level. So then, and people might say that those were the Native Americans. Again, I always tell you here, if you think that a Native American, okay, this is no offense against anyone, but if you take Native Americans and then you take so-called African Americans who are really the originals of this land, so-called black folk, okay? And again, they're saying that they couldn't get them to work. But then they complain about the fact that a lot of so-called black people don't work today and that you're lazy and stuff like that. But they want us to believe that back then, coming from us being wild and free, or even some of it, I'm not going to say it like that because again, some people were established, okay? By the time at least they got here. We wasn't all sleeping in no teepees is what I'm saying the whole damn time. Okay. So they want us to believe that they couldn't get natives to work because they was too wild and they was fighting back, but so-called black people wouldn't. You see what I'm saying? Just even when they talk about whips and stuff on this, this the first. I'm about to just get off subject with this and that's it. Even when they show you the stuff they show you in the movies about the whippings, I've only seen like 1 or 2 images ever of, that come out of antiquity of someone with their backs all wrapped up. Knowing how they perform today and use images, uh, well, not so much images, imagery, I'll say, with television, with propaganda in newspapers and with all kind of things that they do to stir up things or stage coups and psyops and things like that. I just wonder sometimes. I just wonder sometimes because I'm trying to see. Now I'm reading that there might have been only the smaller plantations only had, or most of the plantations were smaller plantations, and only had about 30 to 40 so-called slaves on them working the property. Now you have a so-called, you have a landlord or a so-called master, and then you have his wife possibly, and then you might have an overseer, or you might have someone that comes by once in a while. But you're gonna try to tell me that when it came to taking somebody grandma, could you just, I mean, I'm just saying, just come here with me. Could you imagine even today? Okay, could you imagine it? Someone coming to get grandma and strapping her to a tree and taking a whip out and whipping her in front of, and they bring you all out there so they can go ahead and scare the mess out of you, supposedly, so that nobody will want to act up. So you gonna tell me that's just y'all four that have some type of authority, so called, over the plantation there, and it's 30, maybe 100, sometimes 150 of us, and that's gonna go ahead and go through? I mean, I know they might give you the perception that that can happen because you've been so mind controlled and you've been so broken that supposedly, again, I use my own discernment when it comes to these stories that are put in the headlines. Okay, to each his own. Okay, I think what I think, and that's just it. But you mean to tell me, so then you might be able to say that because, like I was saying, you have people today that supposedly don't do anything when police are doing these things, but that's just the one stories that they end up showing you on the news. I'm pretty sure that there's some other cases that may not be, and the whole family end up going to jail or something because some shit is going down that ain't right with the police. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, they'll have you think that we could all sit there and watch grandma get whipped at the, I about to say at the stake, at a tree, because we will let so-called police do this to other people, especially. And first of all, most of the time these are complete strangers and they are just watching or whatever. Like I said, if these are even real and not psyops just to get you in your emotions, I'm just saying, okay, they've been using the same things all for a very long time, okay, to rile you up. Again, you're the only people that this can happen to on national television, okay? And it happens over and over again, and they display it over and over again, okay? And you get upset over and over again, okay? So it's kind of like they're trying to fuel you, okay? So anyhow, let's get back to it. You mean to tell me they did that to grandma, and it's all of us on the plantation, and we ain't whooped that ass? The next plantation is probably about 5, 10 miles away from that one, and ain't nothing happened. So again, some of this stuff that they put in these movies is what I was saying, is I think that it's just a little bit too far fetched. It's just a little too far fetched, or just yo baby. I mean, I'm just trying to say, somebody coming over there and they're talking about whipping them with a whip or something. Like, I just don't think it's could happen this way. Just the way we are now, when people are getting upset when other people that look like them are getting arrested and everything like that. I just couldn't think. I just don't think that could have happened with 5 people on plantation. That's not you, and then the rest of y'all there. I just don't know. Anyhow, because if they was all laid out, then there ain't nobody to call nobody for the next couple hours, and they didn't really have no phones or anything, so y'all can get the hell up out of there. Nobody would know to send the dogs out to you or nothing because you'd be gone. Okay. So most slaves were, it's not like now where the police station is there, you know what I'm saying, in the military and shit. It's not like the same. Okay. So most slaves who were most slaves who were ultimately brought to the uh, 13 British colonies, the eastern seaboard of what later became the United States, were imported from the Caribbean. Okay. So I'm wondering if these are some of the people that came, some of the North Africans with a lighter view or lighter pigmented skin, that were being brought with these people over into Brazil. Okay. Oh, if those are the Africans that we're talking about that were then brought up, see? Or Were they the actual real supposed Africans? Okay. That ended up coming into the Caribbeans and then they took them from there and brought them here? Or were they Aborigines from the Caribbean that they took from there and brought them up to the colonies? Because we know that we are just the one that just is not the African, but that we are the one carrying the title more than anyone else, even so called Africans that call themselves by their uh, city, I mean, by their country or something. Okay. But again, the ones they try to hide as being African are those ones in North Africa. And again, we have a question. Was Spain ever a part of Africa? That's what we're going to get into next. But until then, let's finish this. Okay. I don't want to get too far off track because I'm just going to do this in little pieces so that they don't take so long. Okay. Were imported from the Caribbean, not directly from Africa. Okay. So again, that's where they were coming from. They were taken to the Caribbean islands as a result of the Atlantic slave trade. Okay. Indigenous people were also enslaved in the North American colonies. Were they? But on a smaller scale. Was it? And Indian slavery largely ended, so largely, not the whole thing and not just a little bit. Okay. In the late 18th century, along with the enslavement of the indigenous people, did continue to, uh, sorry, although the enslavement of indigenous people did continue to occur in the southern states. So in the South, hmm. And this makes me think, are we talking about poor whites that were sitting side by side with so-called black folk who were really Indians or originals? Made me think about like the Irish and all these other people. Because again, their families can be documented coming into the Americas that early as well. Until the Emancipation Proclamation, issued by President Abraham Lincoln in 1863. Again, lots going on with American Indians being displaced around this time. In the English colonies, slave status for Africans became hereditary in the mid 17th century, which would be around the 1600s, mid 1600s. Again, but I thought when we were looking at the laws, the slave laws or codes, well, no, they did have one earlier. They had one earlier, and then they had the ones in the 1800s. Okay. But I'm pretty sure the ones earlier were probably, if we could get our hands on them and compare them, could have been probably talking about these particular people. Okay. The imposters. And then the newer ones could have been now, since they have enough people over here in abundance, they can overthrow you, that they were able to do the things that they wanted to do and get rid of you in that way at that point in time. Because you would wonder, if you were supposed to be slaves since the 1600s, why wouldn't they already have these particular laws um, set up that way? Okay. With the passage of colonial laws that defined children born in the colonies as taking the status of the mother. Now, that's kind of like throwing me two different directions. So, is this saying that these children born or birthed in the colonies will take the mother's status, meaning that if the foreigners brought seeds or the seamen came to seed the land, they have a child with a woman, kind of like, you know, how Eve said, oh, the Lord gave me. Y'all know it was some kind of crazy stuff going on in that garden. Okay. So when they talk about how did you get that? Okay. We know it wasn't a fruit or an apple because it never said apple, right? We know it wasn't that kind of fruit with the serpent. So again, is that talking about someone coming in here, planting their seed in the womb of an American Aboriginal woman, and then taking the child and giving them the status of the mother as now they're going to be a slave too? Or this is talking about a amalgamating and mixing, and so that when the lighter child comes to view, they can then get the birthright of the mother while she becomes a slave. So her original birthright is what I'm saying as being an original. So again, kind of like the 1828 dictionary, I can't stand to keep saying it, but I do. When it comes to the American, it's talking about the people that was found here by the Europeans, and we're talking about the Europeans right now. Okay, we're talking about especially the Europeans right now. Okay, but now the name has been given to the children of the Europeans or the foreigners. Okay, so again, is it talking about that or is it talking about the other thing? So that's what, that just threw me for a loop for a second there. Okay. And this is how the father, okay, or the man or man would get his hands on woman and wed or be in wedlock or joined. You see what I'm saying? So now he will have some type of status or standing here, even when it comes to $5 Indians. Again, so again, you can't have the status, but if you have a child with me, they can have the status so that I can have some standing on this land. Okay? Under the principle of partis whatever ventrum. Okay? By the time the American Revolution, the European colonial powers had embedded chattel slavery. Now, what are we talking about with this? For the Africans and their descendants throughout the Americas. Now, wait a minute. So now, chattel slavery for the Africans and their descendants again. Were they the Africans and they gave you that term? Were they the Negroes and they gave you that term? And they took American or America. Okay. Okay. Because again, that was talking about the US up here or the southern states. And now it goes on to say throughout the Americas, including, okay, and then here we go right here, including the future United States. Okay, so there was a separation there. Okay, but anyhow, yeah, I literally cannot speak anymore, and my eyes are really low, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. I want to thank you guys for watching again. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and put the second part up tomorrow. I'll do it pretty early in the morning. Okay. All right, thanks a lot. Because yeah, we're gonna get into some stuff. We're just gonna slowly break it down. Okay, I hope to see you guys back.